Hmm. Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the life of W.E.B. Du Bois. Courage, brothers. The battle for humanity is not lost or losing. All across the sky sit signs of promise. The slave is raising in his might. The yellow millions are tasting liberty. The black Africans are writhing toward the light, and everywhere the laborer, with ballot in his hand, is voting open the gates of opportunity and peace. Spoken in 1905, these words reflect the progressive movement led by William Edward Du Bois to advance African Americans in society. This ambition for African Americans is something that would become Du Bois' passion and legacy. Born on February 23, 1868, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, Du Bois was one of the few African Americans to populate the town. This, however, did not stop Du Bois from making a name for himself. In 1884, Du Bois became the first African American to graduate from his high school, and he did so as valedictorian. He continued his success at Fisk University in Tennessee, then at Harvard University, where he would receive his B.A., graduating cum laude. While at Harvard, Du Bois gave a speech on Jefferson Davis, which through this controversy would gain him public attention. After graduating with an M.A. in history in 1890, Du Bois decided it was time to study with some of Europe's finest at the University of Berlin. This was for a dream of Du Bois. He wanted to sharpen his mind with some world leaders in philosophy, sociology, and economics. After Europe, he returned to Harvard and became the first man of African descent to receive a PhD. In his lifetime, Du Bois accomplished much, putting his intellectual gifts to work. In 1897, he directed the Atlanta Conferences, which convened annually to generate concise scientific research on the living conditions of African Americans. From those conferences, he collected and analyzed socioeconomic data about every conceivable facet of being a black person in America. Ambitious at the time and still active, he published about 16 volumes on his findings. In 1903, he published his first of remembered works, The Philadelphia Negro, and later The Souls of Black Folks. His essays on race and society and economics were published in such journals as The Independent, Nation, The Southern Workman, Harper's Weekly, World's Work, The Outlook, The Missionary Review, The Literary Digest, and The Dial. Du Bois plunged himself into sociological, historical, economic, and philosophical studies of blacks in America, hoping to elude a cure for the race problem in America. After co-founding the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Du Bois became the editor of its official magazine, The Crisis. Through his influential articles on blacks in America, he became very popular. He also organized a Pan-African conference in order to seriously discuss the state of African Americans in an effort to oppose the oppression of blacks. Throughout his career, Du Bois' idea of educate and agitate certainly agitated other black leaders and revolutionaries such as Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington. His feud with Washington became famous as Washington also fought for the advancement of African Americans. Washington believed in the racial uplift and that agriculture was a way to achieve it. Washington also was for reconciling with the South and for getting past discrepancies against blacks when they were once slaves and even after emancipation, facing Jim Crow and lynchings for those who did not abide the separate but equal doctrines. Both were proponents for making the black race succeed in America. In his later years, Du Bois was to remain a controversial social activist. He became an enthusiastic supporter of communism, which many associated with the negative communist countries at the time. He gave up on racial unity and set out to get rid of most white members of the NAACP, perhaps after years of building distrust of white capitalists and politicians. After many controversial moves, such as challenging atomic weapons, the United States Department of Justice ordered him to register as a foreign principal. Because he refused, he was indicted under Foreign Agents Registration Act. Although he was acquitted, the damage was done forging his feelings toward the system in America. In China, he told an audience he was lecturing, "In my country, for nearly a century, I have been nothing but an African American." W.E.B. Du Bois used rhetorical appeals in his speech, the Niagara Movement speech. The Niagara Movement attempted to bring about legal change, addressing the issues of crime, economics, religion, health, and education. The movement stood apart from other Black organizations at the time because of its powerful, unequivocal demand for equal rights. Members of the Niagara Movement sent a powerful message to the entire country through their condemnation of racial discrimination and their call for an end to segregation. Through logos, Du Bois conveys the logic, and here on the scene of John Brown's martyrdom, we reconsecrate ourselves, our honor, our property to the final emancipation of the race which John Brown died to make free, which further convinces the audience that John Brown died to free those who get discriminated against. He uses pathos when he states, "Cannot the nation that has absorbed 10 million foreigners into its political life without catastrophe absorb 10 million Negro Americans into the same political life at least cost than their unjust and illegal exclusion will involve?" This was to try to put in perspective how injustice things were at that time, accepting the foreigners but not African Americans. Lastly, he uses ethos effectively when he says, "The work of stealing the black man's ballot has progressed, and the 50 and more representatives of stolen votes still sit in the nation's capital." He paints a picture of racial suppression where non-blacks take charge and dismiss African Americans from voting, revoking their opportunity to advance themselves. Certainly an influential activist, the modern world owes a great deal to the radical W.E.B. Du Bois. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.